Thanks for watching. So this is going to be the live stream that we had with the 2019/2020 because coronavirus Aeropress champion. It was such a nice time with Wendelien. I hope you guys enjoyed. Bring a piece of paper and a pen. You're going to learn a lot. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do, and follow us on Instagram at Maven Coffee. So without further ado, you guys enjoy. Bye. It's connection. There we go. Hello. I'm gonna end the Skype call. Let's see. Let me try to make sure that I am able to. So hi everyone. Bear with. There we go. I accidentally locked my phone. There we go. Let's see. Chun chun chun. I think that's. We already have people joining in. Yay! I think we're good.
Yep.
All right. Not bad. We got it.
That was faster than I expected.
Let's see if I can turn the volume up on my end. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. All good.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, I think we got it. Let's see. Okay. Perfect. I've been directed by my wife to stay put and not move. So no, this is good because it gives time to everyone to get in. So hi everyone. We the amazing Wendelien. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Wendelien. That's good.
Wendelien. What's the origin of your name? I always ask that question.
Oh, it's actually a very old name from like a super old German like language. So it's not a German German name, but from like has like German origin.
Oh.
It's like the Dutch version of Wendelin.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, Wendelien, I'm saying it right now.
No.
I didn't hear that on that last one. What did you say?
Oh, sorry. I was named after my grandmother.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's nice. And we have some people from Venezuela that are joining.
Okay.
We have people, so we have people from Colombia, from Venezuela. So there's like 3 different time zones right now.
A couple of Dutchies as well.
Oh, nice. There's probably someone somewhere where it's 2 a.m. and they're going to be drinking coffee at 2 in the morning. So, well, everyone, hello. We're getting more people and getting time to, I would say let's just give some couple of minutes just to kind of like get everything ready and get some people join in. But we're going to get this thing started. It's amazing. We had 2 weeks ago, we had Carolina. She was the previous champion. Now we have the standing champion because of the coronavirus, you are the reigning champion still. So you're going to be the. I think you're going to be the only Aeropress champion for 2 years in a row.
A unique situation. I'm going to see if I can like kind of like find some more.
Take your time.
Somebody from London.
Someone from London. That's good. Take your time. We're setting everything up. I'm actually going to set up. That's okay. I'm going to actually try to set up my end too. This is the beauty of things. It's like.
How it is.
Yeah, this is how it is.
Because I want to be able to brew coffee.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yours is blue. Yeah. Oh, nice. It is 1:30, 2:30 there?
2:30. Yeah, in the afternoon.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're just getting the day started. It's 8 a.m. here, 8:30-ish.
Okay. So definitely time for coffee.
So everyone at home, for those who are delicious coffee and talk about quarantine, before we started the live stream, we chatted a little bit on not Instagram, on Skype. Just to kind of like that first look, and we were having a lot of fun. So we figured out, let's just do this in a very relaxed way. But I know we already have some questions, and I mean, we're gonna have some good time. So everyone at home, if you have an Aeropress, I have ours. It's just a regular one. Yours is like, well, yours is
Super
very
limited edition. Yeah, it's got the googly eyes as well.
Oh wow, I love it.
I know. I think that I think it's called the Plungy, and I bought it in London at the World Aeropress Championship.
Nice. There is this guy, I think he's in London. He's the one who does all the custom designs, and he was the one designing that one. Do you know?
I think. Well, I think these were just these are produced by the guys from Aeropress itself. But I think I know one guy who does like the custom built Aeropresses, who's called Bike Hike Brew on Instagram, and I think he's Australian, but he does
For sure.
ridiculous custom design Aeropresses. One day when I have an incredible idea for something unique, I'm gonna
I
have him
think
ask.
that's the one. Yeah, doesn't he have like the whole Star Wars theme ones?
Yeah.
He was just
No,
talking. Yes, he's the
yeah.
same person. He's not from the UK. He's from Australia.
Yeah.
Huh. That's
Or
nice. That's
maybe
nice.
I might have offended him, but he's called Bike Hike Brew on Instagram.
By Hack Group. We'll probably put his Instagram handle on the comments for people to take a look at it. So, Wendelien, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey with coffee, how long you've been in coffee. Just tell everyone a little bit about you.
So yeah, my name is Wendelien. I'm from the Netherlands, which is, for the Americans who are watching, a tiny country in between Belgium and Germany. And I've been, thank you, down under, the Bike Hike Brew guy. And I've been working in coffee for over 10 years. I started out as a part-time barista when I was still in college, studying English. And then I worked in a couple of different independent coffee bars. And about 8 years ago, I started working at the roastery, the specialty coffee roastery that I still work for, which is called Single Estate Coffee Roasters, based in the Netherlands, quite close to Rotterdam. And I've been learning and working there. And I've been working mostly as a trainer. I'm responsible for all the training there for our wholesale customers. And I started competing in barista competitions in 2011. And then in 2016, I became runner-up. And then last year in I had a baby in between. And then in 2019, I became the Dutch barista champion. And I got to compete in the World Barista Championships in Boston. And then in October of the last year, there were the Dutch Aeropress Championships that I ended up winning.
Yeah.
And I got to go to London for the World Aeropress Championship, and then I ended up winning that too. So competition-wise, it's been a pretty cool year. And then in the same year, we also opened up our own flagship store, our own bar with our roastery located in The Hague. So yeah, pretty crazy year, which is at the moment still crazy, but differently.
Wow, that's a lot. How do you like Boston? That was, I have to confess, that was my birthday gift. That was the first time that I went to Expo. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. How do you like Boston? Were you there before that? Was that your first time in Boston?
It was my first time in Boston. It was my second time in the United States. The first time was like 10 years ago, just for the weekend in New York. So I don't think that really counts. But yeah, I thought Boston was, well, big, to be honest. We talked about, the town that I live in. So for me, the one thing that struck me most in the States was everything is so huge, from the portions of food to the cars. So that was impressive. But I liked the city in general, even though it was huge. And the expo itself was just such an amazing experience. I met so many cool people there, people that I thought that were going to be super unapproachable or intimidating, like previous world champions. And, you know, we just ended up hanging out and yeah, it was just, it was, you know, it's very cliche, but it was a lot of fun. Like I met really cool people, not just barista champions, but just all those people working in coffee, like the people working at the fairs as well. A couple of really cool roasters, the guys from La Marzocco, where I was allowed to make, you know, the brew, the leftovers of my competition coffee. And then the after parties were just, you know, pretty awesome. So yeah, it was a crazy week. It wasn't necessarily fun and relaxing, the competition part, but then after that, you know, I tried to make the most of it, and yeah, we did a lot of cool stuff.
That's nice. And that's you said something, and it's finding out the people that were there are so approachable. I've realized that the coffee industry, the specialty coffee industry at least, it is so healthy. Like, of course, you have a little bit of everything everywhere. But what I've seen in people in the coffee industry, they're so welcoming. They're super nice. Either from, we have the pleasure of, and I always bring this up, pleasure to meet the importer from Malconic here in the U.S., the head of Malconic for U.S. Latin America, Mr. Gary, and he was the most welcoming, sweet guy that you could meet. And it was okay. He is there for business, but then he still takes the time to greet us. He actually lives very well, not very close by, but there's another city here in North Carolina, Raleigh. It's about 2 hours from where we are, and their headquarters are there. So we previously not really met him, but kind of like glanced when we were at the Malconic not factory, but the Malconic warehouse here in the U.S. But even there, so much fun. The people at La Marzocco, the people from Vittorio Arduino, which are Italian, and they're just exuberant. But even still, they're welcoming, focused, but welcoming people from Colombia. It was such a fun treat, and for us, I probably saw you. I probably have pictures of you and the whole competition, because to me it was my first time. It was amazing. My wife was there too. We had a really good time.
Yeah. The first time you see that arena, like the World Barista Championship arena, it's pretty overwhelming. I attended the first WBC in 2013 in Melbourne, and I remember that arena is just like, I never dreamt that I was going to be up that. I was going to be there myself, but yeah, it's very impressive, very intimidating as well, to be up there. And yeah, so I can imagine that must have been something. If you want to look back and see if you have any pictures, you should look for a different hair color though, because I think I was like ice blue hair color, because I matched my hair color with my competition run, because my whole skin was ice and frozen, so I had like ice blue hair.
Nice. So if things will return to normality, what's your next color theme for next competition?
I don't know. That depends. Obviously, everything starts with the coffee and the plan for a competition. Well, no, that's not true. Everything starts with my husband.
Yes.
After Boston, he was like, you know, that was intense. Not necessarily that 10 weeks or that 10 days that I was away, but like the year and a half before that, like the road towards the WBC is pretty intense. Yeah, but yeah, I'd love to do it one more time. It would be really cool. Yeah, I'm not fed up with something, but it's yeah. It's a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of money as well. So it does come with some sacrifices. Well, the Barista Championship at least. The Aeropress Championships not so much. So I recommend everyone try it, starting with competing in the Aeropress Championships, because it's just a lot of fun, a lot of beer, pizza if you're lucky. I mean, the food at the Aeropress Championships was really good as well. So yeah, it's nice. It's more approachable, for sure.
That's a great tip, because I know that people that might join, they are already into coffee. Of course, we probably have people that are, oh, this is going to be cool, and probably locally here in North Carolina, they're might see it, oh, that's going to be cool. But I know that normally we have people that are already into coffee, so hear things like that. Like, to me, I just started with coffee 2 years ago, really. 3 years ago, really? No, two-ish, a little bit over that. So here, your journey and your take on things is very valuable, which is a great caveat to this little thing. And I heard that too from Carolina. She said the 2018 champion. She was mentioning something like that too. Like, it is such a fun atmosphere. The European coffee trip guys. I don't know if you've seen those videos on YouTube. You probably know them.
Yeah.
Oh, they made a whole, when we were watching with my wife the Aeropress documentary, and then the World Aeropress Champion, WAC. It was like that fun atmosphere. It's all about, let's just make this a party. Let's just make this fun. So yes, you're totally right. It's so nice to hear from her. So I have some questions already.
Shoot.
Let's start with the pretty Aeropress. Is that the one that you always use? The blue one?
Well, no. Well, this is the one I have at home. And this one doesn't really travel. Well, this is the one that I bring if I travel, the Aeropress Go.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the little baby. And then obviously we have in our bar, we have just the regular ones. And the one that I use for before London, and actually at the World Aeropress Championship stage, was my first Aeropress, which I bought like 8 or 9 years ago, and I gave that away to a friend who's now using it. He's not in coffee, but we met in November, and he was leaving. He was going back to Australia, and I figured it would be a good gift for him to grant him the gift of being able to brew good coffee everywhere.
Yeah.
So I gave that away. So now this is my new bestie.
Which is gorgeous. I'm jealous. I'm actually jealous.
I know.
I had to put a sticker on mine to make it look different, but that's the thing with the Aeropress. It's so simple. It's just great. Actually, it's my wife's favorite brewing method.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah, she loves it. I love me some espresso. And drip V60. But the Aeropress makes things so, well, you know this better than anybody, but so we tend to find good balanced drinks with this ones.
Yeah, and my thing is that it's so much easier to reproduce a good recipe than with the V60, where there's a lot of, well, for me, a lot of more variables, like the speed with which you pour, like agitation, turbulence, all these you know. We can nerd out completely, but to me it's just more tricky to control. And with the Aeropress, for me it's easier to kind of be consistent all over, which, you know, just is something that I always get really happy about, if you can brew consistently.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's get to it. What are we brewing on your end?
All right, so I have a fresh bag of Colombian coffee. This was not scripted, and I just finished my last bit of Rwanda this morning, and it's Castillo. It's a washed Colombia, and it's from the Turkey Cup Collective, and it's, you know, roasted by the roastery that I work for.
Yeah.
So, and I was promised stone fruit, white grape, and mandarin. So that's
very fruity.
Okay. So
I wish I could smell that. We're going to be using very particular coffee. We're going to use Uginoides. Kind of like to keep it consistent. That's what we use with Carolina, and I want to use it again. So, and as you said, I love the way you put it. We're promised vanilla, almonds, and licorice with cocoa nibs.
Oh, I like the promise of licorice when you're hosting a Dutch woman, because the Dutch like their licorice.
Really?
Yeah.
And again, this was not scripted. So basically, I would like you to run, as in everyone at home, if they're following, because I know that the story will linger for about a whole day. So it's a little bit early here. Some people are just getting their rest and they're just waking up and realizing, oh, yes. And this is going to stay for a whole day. So just step by step on how to brew like a champ. So just take me through. I know that there are different coffees, but it's lovely to hear your routine and to learn from you. So take me through it.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna pick up my phone because I need to kind of move around a little bit. But first step is, of course, the water. So I have filtered water here.
Uh-huh.
And my little kettle that I'm going to switch on. Then I'll place this here so you can kind of see what I'm doing rather than my face. I'll brew with my blue friend here. I've got my skill, which is not mine. I'm saving up for an Akaya, but this is my boss's. Now I have options for the grinder. This is my hand grinder that I bring if I travel. But it's a Kinu.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. And it's super nice. Yeah. I actually was a prize for the when I won the Dutch Aeropress Championship. Oh. They were sponsored, so that's why I got it. But otherwise, if I'm in a lazy mood, this is the badass that I otherwise use. But for the sake of, I kind of feel like I got a lot of questions after the Aeropress Championships, like why I was using the hand grinder and not, for instance, the sponsored, just like an E. For me, it's just because the Aeropress is made for hand brewing, and I think it makes sense to use a hand brewer, like rather than having an EK at home just for something that is meant to like be easy and trust. And I'm using this one because it was a present and it's amazing. So walking you through the World Aeropress Championship recipe. I weigh out 30 grams.
30
I have
grams.
no idea how to translate to the American system. But maybe you can do that.
Okay, so I'm going to do 30 grams. Now, this is a washed coffee as well. Different variety, of course. There's no way to compare them both, but at least we're both working with washed coffees.
Yeah.
And well, of course, I'm going to ask you about like water temperature and things like that as we go. But so far, we have water. You're using tap water. How is your guys' tap water in the Netherlands?
It's really good. It has just straight from the tap. Here in Holland, we don't need chlorine to. So there's no chlorine in the water. I know. Wow. Come to Holland, I like it here. So we have, really good tasting water by itself. It's just a little bit. It's just pretty. It's not high in ppm. So flavor is really good, but then I just use the builder to kind of soften it a little bit to around 90 ppm. For the championship, I use mineral water from a Dutch brand which has 30 ppm, so like super duper soft.
Yeah,
that was
30 ppm. Any blend with minerals?
No, not that I specifically know. To be honest, I'm not that knowledgeable on water because I just tend to. I had options for the championship. Like I found a really. I don't know if that's the right word, but I found a water with a really high ppm, like 300, and then I had the softest one that I could find. And then the championship water was like somewhere in the middle, like 125. So even just the water that was supplied by the sponsor for the Aeropress Championship was really good as well. Yeah. Even for the Aeropress Championship, there's no necessity to bring your own water. I just got mine from Tesco's around the corner.
That's true. Simplicity.
I know. But also because it was mainly led by taste.
Yes.
rather than, so if you want, obviously you need to know a little bit about what that ppm does to the flavor of the water, but it's not necessarily that you have to know the exact components of the water. If to necessarily win. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so you go by taste. So basically what you're trying to say is you like a softer water, but you go by taste. You don't really measure or pay too much attention on particles on that water, but just hardness, probably in minerals, not so much, but just your taste and what your brain is telling you.
The thing is, first of all, I'm not a chemist, and I'm not really good with numbers either. So I try to keep it. The one thing I do have is kind of like a library of flavor and kind of some knowledge about what variables there are that you can change, and if you change them, what the expected effect will be. So I know a little bit about the effect that softer water has on extraction than water with a higher ppm. So that's more like the general lines that I like to use, and then always test it if that actually does what you want.
Yeah. Good tip.
Yeah.
Good tip. So I have the 30. Now we have the EK at home because we cannot use it, so might as well. Not everyone. I mean, not everyone's gonna have an EK at home. Like, why? That's not the intended use. But for today, for simplicity, we're gonna do it on an EK. So tell me how. I know that it's completely different, but how, if we can use an analogy, maybe like salt, kosher salt, sugar. How fine or coarse you do your grounds now that we're going to start grinding?
Yeah, so I would go for maybe on the EK, like if I would use the EK at our bar, it's usually around somewhere between 9 and 10. So pretty coarse, like crystal sugar structure almost. So pretty coarse.
Do you zero out the EK? Do you get it to through a true zero when it's on zero? Do they, if you push, do they touch? Okay. Yeah, because I mean every grinder is different, but knowing that, I have mine set that way, so it's a good approximation. You say 9, between 9 and 10.
Yeah, so I'd go for 9, 9.5, and then that should be.
Okay, I'm gonna go for 9.5. All right.
This is gonna take me longer than you.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. We can use this time to talk. Let's see. Let me unplug the machine and plug the grinder. So probably you're gonna end up grinding the coffee first. I forgot to plug in the machine, and I want to make sure that I don't jump my breakers. So I'm gonna unplug some things.
America's gonna go dark if you plug that in.
Yes, we don't want that. That actually happened to us once. We were at an event. Yes, you can put it on the wall. Make sure there is nothing. My beautiful wife is helping me on the background. She's making all this possible. No, we were at an event. Yes. Make sure that there's nothing else plugged in. We were at an event, and we have a GS3 for the pop-up. And we have the GS3, and we have a peak, and we had the EK. So nothing was working. Probably the machine was hot, but I pulled the EK to run a bag for a customer, and we lost power. That was it. We were on a room, and the whole room lost power. Thank God I had a very long cord, and I ended up across the building to find another outlet that was not on that same circuit.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, here we go. So at home, those are your grinders. Now for shop, what's your favorite grinder?
For shop? Oh, that's a tricky one.
I know.
That's a toughie. So in our bar, we started with the Victoria Arduino, the Mito. Mito which work great. And then we are now working with Etzinger because we want to test out if it helps our workflow and our speed if we use the Etzinger, because it has like the built-in scale.
Yes.
And it's doing that really well. It's like the bigger version of like what I have on the counter there. It's super precise, but we've had some challenges with the amount of coffee that they can deal with. So it's not a problem now because we're only open for takeaway and we're not, doing that much coffee. But the capacity was still something that every now and then, like on super busy peak moments on Saturdays, it tends to kind of clog or so. It has pros and cons like every grinder. So I wouldn't necessarily, besides the EK that we use for espresso shots as well as our filter coffees. I think that would be still my favorite grinder. EK for
yeah, they're a workhorse. They definitely are, and the people there, at least in the US, they're phenomenal. So I highly recommend them. always. Not a sponsor, but they are amazing. So I have my 30 grams. So for everyone following at home, 30 grams, and let's see. So inverted.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it inverted, so this way. So you got your plunger, you put it on top of the chamber, take off the cap, and then you put the thing on your scale, and you put it to 0. Now we need to grab a filter as well, and we need to rinse that.
1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
Would be 8 because it's cooler. No. For the competition, I used 1 filter, but it's a special filter because it's made. It's an Acer filter, so it's almost Chemex paper filter, so it's like slightly thicker. I don't know if you can see with the light through, but it's a little bit different. This one is the regular standard filter, like you can see through it. And this one is a slightly thicker Acer filter that I use for competition. If you don't have these, then the closest thing is just 2 regular Aeropress filters. So I'll put the 2 in. And check with my kettle.
How hot do you get your water?
I put it on 92 Celsius. 92 I have no idea.
Celsius. Yes, I can translate for people in the US. 92 Celsius, that is, let's see, 92 Celsius, that is 198 in Fahrenheit.
I believe you. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse those 2. The other thing that you're gonna need at hand is the stir thingy. What do you call that in English? Stir?
Yeah. Thingy.
So the water is 92. I'm going to rinse those 2 filters.
Okay, I'm rinsing them. I get burned every single time if I don't put it on something.
And the other thing that always happens to me is this. You get like a stir. Thank you. Yeah. A draft prick person. Okay, and then I get like the air bubble always, so that's why I use the stirrer.
So you can flatten it. Oh. Pro tip, number 1. Actually, I remember we have a question from when I posted the live stream. I asked people to ask questions. One of those questions, and maybe we can look up our, was paper filter. It was something like paper filter or metal filter. Please end this debate. That's how the question went.
Yes to both. So, pros and cons. Paper filter, yay, because it gives you a cleaner cup, because it's finer. Cons, it gives you less body than a paper filter. Than a metal filter. Now, the metal filter is convenient and reusable, which is a pro. And it has bigger holes, so it gives you more fines, so more thicker, oily, more body in your cup, which can be good. So it kind of like clean versus body, which is depending on the cup and depending on your personal preference.
Yes.
When I go traveling, I usually just put in a metal filter in the Aeropress and I reuse that. So that's more practicality rather than flavor. Even though then the Aeropress Go comes with like a super nifty thingy. It took me a while to figure out. You can like have little travel.
And I love that. Even the normal one, I mean, this will last you a lifetime.
I know. Super smart.
I think we already have a question.
Oh no, it's just like a comment. A Daft Prick is saying, I put a bit of water at one end and let it flow to all sides. Avoids the bubble in the filter.
Oh, so we had a
like
tip
a
on
tea.
how to do it. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, nice.
All right. So you've got
Okay. So water at 92 Celsius, which is one for just people in the US, 198. Okay. Perfect.
so many jokes I want to make right now, but
I know.
I know it's too easy to make sense of the Americans. We talked about this before the official thing. Okay, so I'm going to put the coffee in the Aeropress.
Okay. Now, can you maybe show a tiny little bit to the camera? Have you placed it all? Can we see just maybe a tiny little bit how the grind size looks?
Yes.
So this is what I got. I'm going to get a plate, although my wife doesn't like me to go out of frame. But for this one, I will have to.
We have a cat. If you can see her.
Oh yeah, we have a cat. I don't know if you like cats, but anyways, we do have one right there.
Oh, she's completely asleep. I love cats. Yep.
So we are. So this is how ours turned to be. Well, it's a little difficult with the line. There we go.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to try to do the same thing. Get a little white plate. And it's a good question.
How many presses per filter though until the paper looks dirty?
Huh. We already have a question. Okay, it says how many presses per filter though until the paper looks dirty? Grind setting a number on the Kinu.
Yeah, you can't with the paper filter. I've never tried reusing a paper filter, so that's the problem that you need to. And this after a certain. Even though I think if you buy an Aeropress, it comes with like 350 filters. Obviously, if you use 2 per Aeropress because you're becoming a coffee nerd like me, you're gonna go through them twice as fast. But I've never been able to reuse a paper filter because that's what happens. It defines from the coffee, like the super small particles, they clog your paper filter. So that's why you can't. Same thing with the regular coffee maker. Like you can't
reuse your paper filter.
But you can't reuse a metal filter. So that's why it's cool. I'm gonna see if I can kind of get the camera up to the little plate so you can see grind size. Hopefully. Let's see. There you go.
Oh, okay, nice. So maybe it's a touch on mine. It's a touch coarser. Probably I would have gone to 10 on the Malconic EK43 or EK43S if you have it to true 0. But I see what you did. Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Grind setting number on the Kinu. What is it? Kinu.
Oh, the Kinu. Yeah. So this is I should be able to give you like the right amount of clicks because I think with the Comandante there's like a certain amount of clicks after being set on 0. This works slightly different. Now the amazing guys from Kinu have tried to explain this to me already 100 times, but as I told you, I'm stuck with numbers. So what I'm gonna do is I can show you hopefully. I should really learn how to talk about how I set my Kinu grinder. I have been asked this question so many times, it's embarrassing. But as you can see here, there's a little, I hope you can see that it's a little line and there's like a, so this one's kind of set almost to 1, but you can kind of unscrew this one and then reattach it. So I promise I'm gonna ask again the guys from Kinu to explain to me how I can communicate my grinder setting, because it's a great system and it's very smart, and they have like they can adjust it to like nano whatever, but
Wow.
it's just I haven't been around to remember it.
I might want to get one now.
Yeah, because I also with the if I rarely adjust my grind size for my Aeropress, because I only use this grinder for Aeropress coffees. And I usually play around if I want to change the recipe. I rather play around with dose or water temperature, which is easier than the grinder setting, because this grinder setting usually gets me something decent, and then I start from that moment on. All right, so we've got our 30 grams of coffee in the Aeropress.
All right.
All right, and you've got your water ready.
Yes.
Right, you've got your rinsed filter ready.
Yes.
And you need something that you're gonna press in. You need a plunger.
I don't have mine, but I have this.
The stir, sorry. And the timer. So now what we're gonna do, because I'll explain to you beforehand because it's gonna be rather fast. I'm gonna pour 100 grams of water on the coffee. Start the clock, obviously, once you start pouring. Give it a stir for 20 times, like vigorously. Put on the cap with the rinsed filters, and then kind of carefully, I like to do that next to the scale. No, don't give it a swirl, but kind of press out that excess air. All right? Okay, and then you're going to see that. Don't press too hard. Just try to get like most of that excess, because 100 grams of water is only going to be this much.
Yes.
So you press out the excess air. Then once you hit 40 seconds, you flip and press. All right, and then press it over.
Got it.
Right?
So this is. Let's see if I got it. 100 grams of water, then vigorously stir 20 times or 20 turns. Then I'll take it off and I'll move it a little bit and plunge it a little bit, so I take most of the air up.
Yeah. No, you put the cap on and then you press. How about I do it first? You can watch me, and then I'll walk you through yours.
Perfect. I like that. Yes.
Right. I used to be a school teacher. That's how I.
Nice.
So here we go. So we've got my water. Everything ready. Start the clock. I'll pour 100 grams of water. Try to do that in like 10 seconds. All right. Then I give that a stir. Make sure that, because there's so little water, there's so much coffee, you got to make sure that it's like nice and saturated. Okay. Is that a word, saturated?
Yep.
All right. There we go, 20 times. Put on the cap. Kind of put it next, and then I kind of carefully, and then in a couple of seconds, I'll hit 40 seconds, and then I flip and I press it. There we go.
How long of a press?
So because there's quite a bit of resistance, I press in about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Because there's only so little water, and I press all the way down.
Perfect.
So make sure you get everything, because obviously, not obviously, but you might be used to kind of not pressing all the way down, like when you hear the sound. But with this method, I need every last drop.
Huh. Okay. So here I go.
Like a tiny bit of coffee.
Awesome.
You can do it.
All right, here we go. So 100 grams.
100 grams of water.
10 seconds.
About 10 seconds. There we go. 100.
Right. Stir for 20 minutes. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
All right. That's about 20.
Right.
Then
put on the cap. Yep. Now kind of gently press out that excess air.
Oh wow.
All of it?
No, just until just most of the air is out. Obviously, when the coffee starts coming out, you're too far down. And then when you're at 40 seconds, how's your clock?
Okay. Unfortunately, this one automatically stopped. Okay, but it's about there. Okay.
Pretty fast. So usually you can like keep going straight away. It's like quite a fast recipe.
Yeah, this one gives a little bit more resistance.
Yeah, because you have such a high dose, there's a lot of resistance. That's why you need to stir so well. If you don't stir, you will not be able to. I mean, I don't have the biceps to get that. There'll be
All right.
too much pressure. All right. Now, what you should have, hopefully you have another like vessel or cup or something in hand. Because what you should now have is that extract, which is going to be super strong. Should weigh around 60 grams. Like you should have roughly 60 grams of coffee.
Roughly 60 grams of liquid at the end. Can I get another?
Yeah. So I have my other.
Oh, 60.
So this is going to be super intense, super thick, very syrupy, and very acidic.
Okay.
Because we extracted so high and so fast. So let me just quickly check. Yeah. So I'm at 70 grams now. And then I'm going to start with adding 100 grams of water to that really strong extraction. So I'm going to dilute it again.
Okay, dilute it with 100 grams of water.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be there with you in just a second. Let's see. Yeah, about 67.89, 68 grams, okay, and 100 grams of water.
Yeah. So that's because you use like 30 grams of coffee and then 100 grams of water. You extract it. You end up with like roughly 60 to 70 grams of extracted coffee.
So I'm going to do 100 at the same temperature water.
Yeah. I just let my kettle sit there.
What coffee do you use? I mean, a single origin? Somebody's
yeah. It's a washed Castillo from Colombia, from the Tarqui Cup Collective.
Yay. And we are using
And we're using on another Colombian washed coffee, but this is Eugenioides variety. So completely different ones. Have you tried the Eugenioides variety?
I haven't yet.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It is amazing. The beans are super tiny, which is sometimes it is a red flag for some people, but no, this is very special. Do you see how tiny it is compared to? Can I get a normal bean? You'll see it compared to. It's very tiny, and it tastes. It is a sub. It's a sub. It's a different family from the Arabica. See how? Let's see. There it is. So the tiny one is Eugenioides, and it has less caffeine.
And less bitterness.
So it's not as bitter. So when you drink it, it tastes like sugar water.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult to grow. We were able to get our hands on this one before the lockdown. We went to Colombia. This was from the farm. This is a very special coffee. This was from the farm that I forgot her name. The current World Barista champion used from the same farm, La Inmaculada. So that same farm, she used a blend of Eugenioides with something else. So we were able to get our hands on a very small batch of Eugenioides. This is kind of like our love child. It is crazy, but it is crazy. I'm just gonna say it's crazy.
You'll have to send me a bag. It sounds really good.
Yes.
All right.
So I have 170 grams here.
All right, so that's perfect. Now what I usually start doing now is taste it. If it's still too strong, then you add a little bit more water. So I ended up with, in the end, 120 grams of dilution. So, but obviously if you've added it, you can't take it out again. So that's why I tend to, well, I don't have a cupping spoon here, but I would like to take a sip and see if it's still strong, you can add a little bit. Yeah, mine is still too strong. So I'm going to add just another 10 grams of water.
I like it.
And then the last thing I did at the World Aeropress was, it looked really silly. It felt really silly, but it really worked. Is I kind of just decanted it like this, because obviously at the competition you have 8 minutes to prepare a cup. So this whole thing took me like 3 minutes, and then I just spent 5 minutes doing this, which made sure that I could serve it around like 60 degrees, so like kind of warmish but not hot. And I think that helped the judges be able to distinguish the taste, the flavors better. So serving it at a lower temperature was, I think, really helped bring out the sweetness and the full flavor experience of that cup of coffee. So I tend to. So it doesn't matter that we're talking a little bit now. That's basically what I'm saying, because it tends to get better once it cools.
Yes.
And I like to drink coffee around 60 to 70 degrees, so you can actually distinguish the flavors.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool tip. Carolina, from 2018, she gave us the same tip. She actually used bypass water at room temperature without even knowing, and it cooled down the coffee quite a lot, but just enough so the judges could taste the difference. So I think that's a really important tip that I've got. This is the second time from 2 barista champions, so I will not agree. I will not disagree with that at all.
Somebody's asking.
The thing is,
8 minutes, including the grinding. So the whole brewing process was like 8 minutes, including the grinding.
You were allowed to bring your coffee ground on stage. You were even allowed to rinse your filter beforehand. But the thing is, the cool thing about Aeropress Championship is there's not that many rules. What you're supposed to do is you should present, like, I think 180 milliliters of coffee after 8 minutes made with the original part of an Aeropress. That's basically it. So you can choose the filter, you can choose the kettle, whatever. But because I remember this because we were all the competitors, there was like 60 countries competing. And there was a briefing beforehand where we were shown, like, this is the competition area and the stage and whatever. And then one of the competitors asked the organizer, Tim Williams, like, can we pre-ground the coffee? And he was like, sure, if you want. And then someone else said, like, can we rinse the filter before we go on stage? And then Tim again was like, sure. Yeah. The thing is, if you can't brew one Aeropress in 8 minutes, what are you doing? So more to keep it kind of simple.
Yes.
To keep the competition like not too heavy. And I think it was also pretty fun because there was a big distance between the area that we were allowed to prepare and practice. And then we had to like go outside, down the stairs, up the stairs, different building, across the street, and then we'd get to the stage area, to the stage where the actual competition was. And there was a lot of people going through a lot of work to kind of keep their kettles warm and keep all their equipment warm to serve the coffee as hot as possible. And then with me going like trying to serve it as cool as possible. It was it's such a cool and fun competition. I had I learned so much there as well. But it was mostly people sharing, having jokes. There was a lot of beer backstage as well. The majority of the people were there basically to meet up with other baristas and kind of exchange cool recipes and
best practices.
Because there's a lot of.
Wendelien, and if you don't mind me stopping for a second, it is possible that Instagram does this thing that if you hit certain time, the live stream might go off. So if all of a sudden this goes off, and for everyone watching, it might just go off because it's temperamental. We're gonna quickly do the live stream again. It happened to us before. I don't know if it's a time restriction, but that's awesome. So let me go through the recipe just for everyone who's watching. So 30 grams of coffee. Now I have a question. Yeah. You're using a washed coffee.
Yeah.
Will you do the same ratio on a natural one? What about rose level? Do you have a preference from rose level? Because it's impossible for everyone to have the same coffee at the same time, even if we ship them to them. If we do an exercise like that, It's going to degas. I mean, it's going to be different. So what is your preference, or no, are your best practices for a washed coffee, or if it's natural, or darker or lighter roast?
So for darker roast, I would recommend just shorter extraction time and coarser grind, so you extract less. And for lighter roast, basically the opposite. Now, with this method of dilution, obviously it depends per coffee, and if you use 30 or 32 or 35 grams. The idea behind this recipe is that you make a you capture all the acidity because you brew at a high extraction, very short amount of time.
Yes.
For instance, you use the same principle and then you dilute that acidity again. So I use the same thing with the Aeropress championships, but we were working with a washed Kenyan, so a lot of acidity.
Yeah.
So then I extracted for a full minute, and then I added the dilution. I think I had like 80 grams of coffee and then 1 minute of extraction. But then for the Worlds in London, we had a washed coffee from El Salvador with a slightly more developed roast. So that's how I got to like lower temperature in water, 40 seconds extraction. And then I think with a natural, I'd start with the same principle. Like I don't necessarily adjust the recipe beforehand. So I would start with like, you got to start somewhere. So even if it's because we have a coffee from Colombia that is natural now as well, La Virgen, I think it's called. It's beautiful. It's a natural process. What I always like to try with brewing this way is to emphasize that acidity. And then I think what worked really well for me with this way is because that coffee, that El Salvador that we had at the Aeropress Championship, it didn't really have that much acidity. And with this way, with like super short extraction, super high dose, low water temperature, you can bring whatever acidity is in there, get it in that cup, and then dilute it to a strength that is pleasant. And then serve it at a temperature that you can actually detect all those flavors. So that's kind of the idea. And then obviously the more acidity is present, like if you have a really bright natural process with a lot of sweetness, you can kind of, you need to see if you can maybe extract slightly longer to kind of make sure that that acidity doesn't overpower everything. So kind of balance it out with like the Kenyan, because that had a lot of acidity present. Then that I chose to brew with like 98 degrees, so almost boiling temperature.
Yeah.
And extract for a minute rather than 40 seconds. So that's how I kind of adapt to whatever coffee I'm using. Yeah. But I don't take any decisions before I brew. I just brew with like the last recipe that I use that, and then I adapt.
So we might get that notification in a minute. So I know that there is a question asking grind size, temperature, and that's by, I cannot really read the username. So for you who's asking the question, we might get disconnected from the live stream, and we're going to answer that question on the second part of the live stream, just to make sure that you guys get the facts. But yeah, that is really good info. So you first want to get that acidity up, like that concentrate, and then you use your, we may call it like bypass water or your water to play with that. Oh, that is
because the strength, you determine the strength with the amount of dilution, but the flavor is with the first part.
I have a question. In my head, a natural coffee will be more. Hi everyone. Again, so it seems that we got disconnected. So we're going to give it a second. Hello. So we're waiting for Wendelien to rejoin. Hi, person. There's one person connected now. There's another one there. Hi. There's a third person. Oh no, that's hey, hi. How are you? Okay, so I'm going to talk to you. Where are you from? Where are you in the world? Now there's a third person. But anyways, to Dokopa 1962. So where are you plugging in from? Good morning from Chicago. Hey, we're in North Carolina. We're waiting for Wendelien to connect. It seems that okay, perfect. So trying to get Wendelien right there. Perfect. In view.
No.
There we go. So she's gonna get in any second. So good evening from the Philippines. All right, awesome.
Wow.
So hi everyone again. There's people joining us. So we have about 5 minutes. We just want to make sure that you use the second part of the video to just wrap things up. Wendelien, thank you so much for those who are just joining us. I'm going to make sure that on Maven Coffee, I'm going to post the highlights that we had today. So if you missed it, rewatch it. But if you missed it, we're going to post that down the road. So yeah, no, my question just to close pretty much is, do you use the washed coffee for the competition? Why not natural? What on your because I know that you roast, so you have this, and you were telling me that you do training, so you have a lot of knowledge. So why one over the other?
So for the Aeropress Championship, everyone gets the same coffee, which is the reason. So you're not allowed to pick your coffee, but it's supplied. So everyone, all 60 competitors, use the same coffee, and so there's a roaster that sponsors the competition coffee, and you don't know beforehand what it's going to be. For the national championship, we were everyone who registered and had a spot in the competition got 1 bag of coffee 2 weeks prior to the competition.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what it was going to be. Then you have like 250 grams to practice with, and then a new bag on the competition day. But for the World Aeropress Championship, they used to do that as well, like send everyone a bag 2 weeks before the competition. But because so many bags got lost, so there was like competitors who didn't have the chance to practice. So now they're just supplying it on competition day, and like around 1 o'clock. And we got to cup the coffee with the roaster that was supplying the coffee. So everyone uses the same coffee to kind of even out the playing field. Everyone is basically, when you compete in Aeropress Championship, the only thing you need to bring is your Aeropress and some enthusiasm, because there's grinders, there's water, there's coffee that is supplied, and the judges have to distinguish, those tiny differences between 60 competitors with using the same coffee, same roast. Yep. So that's why I didn't choose the coffee. It wasn't. You just have to brew. The championship is designed to make like the best cup of coffee with everyone using the same coffee, which makes it fun. So it's not a competition about the coffee. It's about brewing it.
Brewing it. Awesome. Last question. What's the best? It's difficult, but what's your favorite variety? B, what's the best cup of coffee that you've ever had? Or at least the one that you can just not forget.
Okay, so that's, I wouldn't be able to choose between varieties, but the best cup of coffee I think I had was the coffee that I used for my WBC last year in Boston, because it was unlike anything I ever had, and it was from Colombia. It was actually from a farm called El Paraíso in Cauca.
Yes.
And it was a double anaerobic fermentation coffee, and it was the variety was Catura, I think. It wasn't, but because of the double anaerobic fermentation, it turned out super crazy, and it was definitely the coffee that I will remember forever and ever. It was just magical. Yeah.
Wow. And last question. Do you cold brew or no cold brew?
Oh gosh. We're actually working on developing a cold brew, something that is tasty to use in our bar when summer is gonna be happening. I'm I have still yet to taste a cold brew that blows me away. So, but I'm more than open to tasting everything. I've never had an experience other than something amazingly delicious, something cold coffee at the bar at Tim Windelbo's, but that's more like a guilty pleasure frappuccino kind of thing,
Yes.
done right, than like cold infusion or cold brew. So I have still yet to be convinced, but I hope it still happens.
Huh, nice,
I
nice.
think we should answer this question. He says, among those variables,
Variables.
which one you choose to settle first?
Dose. Yep.
Okay, so
And then first dose, then time.
those.
And then yeah. Because I think the effect that you have on the flavor with the dose is, with the Aeropress at least, is a lot bigger than and then, you know, water temperature is a big one as well. But first I would lock in dose, and then kind of I start experimenting with water temperature.
Awesome, awesome. So I think this is a wrap. Wendelien, thank you so much. The wife is here, was working the cameras and the questions. And everyone who joined us on the live stream, if you missed the brew, go back to the first one. It's going to be up for 24 hours. We're going to post some really cool things at Maven Coffee. And thank you. You're so awesome.
Thank you for sharing.
We're not trying to, of course, we're trying to be joyful and get people to engage, but you were so, so welcome.
She's the baby.
Blue.
But yeah, there's a cat involved.
It's always good to get the cat involved. Thank you so much, and I hope this is not the last time, and I hope we get to see you again sometime soon.
And we will send a coffee as soon as we have.
As soon as we can. We had the first, our contact had to leave to Cairo, and they were in a lockdown, so we were trying to. My goal was to get some coffee your way, but this person was in Cairo, locked down with a family. It was a little bit difficult, but I mean, we have our whole lives ahead of us, so I hope we get to do something fun next time.
Yeah, and you know, if you have any remaining questions, you know where to find me. I'd love to catch up and do this again. You know, because if there's questions that I can't answer, then it's my absolute pleasure. So.
Yay,
awesome. So I think this is a wrap. You have a wonderful day, and thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.